already?
Yes, we
already
already
finished?
did, yes,
Yeah,
we're on
already
session.
finished, Mark. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
Good.
All right, so before we get going to any comment? You
No
want?
comment.
Okay, great. Okay, so,
Can I ask you a question though? What is your name? Are you Colleen
No, Amanda Briggs.
Briggs?
Yeah.
Okay, because I wasn't sure what your name was. Because we had an application to be on some board from a Colleen something, I remember, and I was wondering if that was you.
No.
No, okay. Well, it's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
so, first thing that we should talk about is the medical marijuana. You do have a copy of the.
I don't know, what this is the ordinance thing?
I did put on here a copy of the marijuana.
I think I have it, actually.
Oh, no, this is it, they were, okay.
And I think I do
so-
have it right here too. I have my own copy.
Oh, you do?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so,
And I actually should remember.
we started, do you have a comment that you want to make?
Yeah, we can actually start, yeah.
Sorry?
Yeah, I did think you guys were ready.
Well, and we have started, so.
We have started,
so,
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, so yeah, if you have a comment, this is your opportunity.
Okay. I was just here to speak about the ordinance going on medical marijuana, and the reasons on why we should definitely pass that ordinance. Economically speaking, the kickback on those benefits is going to be a 25% tax that goes to the state, which 3% will come back to the city in which it belongs to. You have one or two dispensaries that open up in the city, they'll bring a lot of commerce into the area, as well as the fact that it usually takes, on average, 2 to 3 employees to actually maintain a dispensary as it's going in full force. So it brings in more job opportunities in the area. Now, a really important thing is that any dispensary that we see, when you go through California and Colorado, and I have all the source information for where this came from, this is all backed up data. You look at California and Colorado, any type of area that's allowed a dispensary to go into it, its commerce in the city has seen a raise by about 10 to 13% in the entire city within the first 6 months. So you're talking about an instantaneous notice of income coming into the city. This is because it brings other people from the area in as well. Now, a lot of problems that people think come with marijuana is crime. However, in Denver, Colorado, as well as Sacramento, California, both areas, when they became fully recreational, which I know that's not what we're doing, but however, it's when they allowed dispensaries to start coming into their area. They actually reported a drop in crime by 8.8%. So you see a drop in crime quite a bit when these come into the play as well. Now, a more important thing is what will it do for our community? Of course, it will bring more business to the community, which will allow the community to have better roads, better streets, better everything, as well as it brings lower crime to the community. So these are also very good things. And the biggest thing that it brings to the community is any place that has actually had a dispensary open up and become legal. And this again comes from California and Colorado. This is actually from the CDC themselves, that the drop death and painkiller death, opiate abuse death, drops by 25%. That means they see 25% less deaths coming from opiates in any city that allows these to open up, which we know in this area is a humongous problem right now. Another huge benefit that comes to the community is the fact that when they did a study on it in 2015 with 3 different doctors, they had found marijuana to be just as or less than addictive as caffeine when compared to, again, opioids or any other treatment for pain. You're talking about within 7 days you start a physical addiction to these things. With marijuana, there is no physical addiction that ever starts. There's a slight mental addiction for some patients that is usually easily overcame. They have a reported rate of 95% of people who have never taken painkillers for any kind of thing in their entire life. They get injured at work, they go to take care of this injury. If they're put onto marijuana, it's a 95% that they will return back to work. That other 5% I'm sure has a large window to do with many other variables, but the marijuana itself is never going to be an issue. When it comes down to somebody with a pain problem, as soon as that pain is gone, if they need to return to work and that work demands that they are not on medical marijuana, most people will quit marijuana for the job. Very few people will choose to lose a job for marijuana. With opiates, we again don't see the same thing. So that's all I have to say on it. It's going to be a humongous benefit to the community in both financial and health. So, thank you.
Thanks, that was really well researched.
Could you say what your name is, and are you representing any kind of like consulting firm or anything?
My name is Daniel Dufresne. I'm representing, we actually plan on opening a business up here if this ordinance passes called Superior Remedies, as well as I work next side to the lady who owns the Zen Garden.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so thoughts?
Yeah, what I'm gonna do today is, so we can make a good decision on this, on my notepad here, I'm gonna put the pros and the cons, which I think are important to me, okay?
Mm-hmm.
You talked about, the tax, we would get 3%. My concern, I'm trying to read over this House Bill 4209, which talks about, we're not just talking about dispensaries. This bill will entail growers, processors, provisioning centers, secure transporters, and safety compliance facilities. So we're talking 5 things here, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, it clearly states in here that under this act, there needs to be a statewide monitoring system, okay, which is available 24 hours a day to verify different things, okay? I don't know if this statewide verifying system is up and running. We're going to have to check on that because you have to have that in place according to this law before you can have anything. I don't know about this. You have to be able to track transporters, licensees, dates, quality, price, you got to do all these things. And, it seems like a lot of, unless we can just look on the internet.
Yeah, I would think that would probably,
Yeah,
that's the state's
I would like to see
responsibility,
that.
and I would assume it'll be in place, if not now, by the.
Yeah,
December.
Yeah, I'd like to see a copy of what that entails, this verified state monitoring system. Because the concern I have with the state monitoring system is, it's on the internet, you can look at it, but who in our jurisdiction, because we're a small jurisdiction, is going to look at this and monitor it? Is it going to be our board of trustees? Is it going to be our law enforcement officer? It has to be a law enforcement officer. We're very, very thin on law enforcement, okay?
Right.
We're very, very thin. And if it entails like a lot of monitoring, paperwork, checking, this and that, boy, we're going to have more police officers to do that because we only have 1 full-time officer. That's all we have. So that's another issue for me is, who can monitor this if we have to legally monitor it?
It's my understanding that when it comes to the monitoring, that's going to be the responsibility of the dispensaries and the state. I don't believe that's
So not the local jurisdiction.
not in the sense of,
I think I saw it in here that you have to have.
you guys actually have to do the testing and everything. As far as overseeing it in the sense of making sure that it's legal, I'm sure that you guys will have some responsibilities in that. But that, even now with the dispensary that you have, and anything, you still have responsibility to that. With the grows that are going on, you still have responsibility to that. So, technically none of the grows are supposed to be being illegal or anything as well. So, we're not looking at a whole lot of extra as far as that goes. And again, with a lot of these things, such as the tracking of the plants and everything, that's going to be, if you're opening a transportation company, that's going to be completely separate. You also need armed vehicles and everything else for that, and we're not ready for that at all on our end either. So, we're
But
not
remember,
looking
it
at
could happen because if we, if this law.
Oh, definitely, but I think that's
thing-
going to be something that's going to be a long time coming. And I think that the main thing right now is for the dispensaries to stay open, you get 150 plants for your one dispensary, in which case, tracking where it goes and everything else like that, you don't have to worry about because you're not allowed to get rid of it anywhere else except for through your dispensary. So I would say that until you guys are ready and comfortable, I would not approve one of the 500 to 1,500 plant grows or the transportation itself, which will entail a lot more monitoring, a lot more money. But if you stick with just the dispensaries alone, you're not looking at much more than what you already have right now.
and that's what I liked about this draft ordinance, is it seems to give us power over number, which, you know, to me, and again, I'm only expressing my own opinion, I personally don't have a problem with dispensary, I really don't. You know, I get concerned when it goes beyond that, you know, to building operations and distribution and all that. But I mean, I know people who do use medical marijuana, and they use it to a good end. So again, if you know, as I look at this ordinance, yeah, I mean, as long as we can control number, you know, then you know, again, personally, I'm comfortable. I know from my perspective, what I would like to get before we spend a lot of time on an ordinance is, I would like to get a sense of the council. You know, I mean, there's no point in spending a lot of time drafting and putting an ordinance in place if the council is ultimately not going to approve it. So, I mean, I don't know how you would feel about this, Virginia, but I would like to ask the council.
Well, sure, that's why we're.
What, yeah, do you want us to move forward with this? And then from there.
It's a hard one because, you know, you have to remember, our little jurisdiction here, you know, our businesses have declined, things like that. I would like to know what this is, if we read an ordinance, what this is gonna look like, okay? Is there gonna be many buildings that are gonna be like dispensaries within this jurisdiction because they would be allowed, or does our ordinance just say one?
This draft ordinance basically you can specify the number.
Okay, but if it's one, could it be like, you know, so giant and become known as that? You know what I'm saying?
Well, it sounds like, and I'm not all that familiar,
Yeah.
that you can regulate the size of the business as to number of plants. Now, you're far better informed than I am, so, but I mean, just by your statement, it sounds like if you were to open a dispensary.
Yeah, you're limited to 150 plants. So, and again, once December
Total.
passes,
Total.
right, and then once December passes, you're no longer allowed to get the overage from other caregivers. So right now, they're getting the overage from other caregivers. So you're talking about, you know, each person has 72 plants, 72 plants, 72 plants, all that overage is coming in the dispensary. You're talking about a lot more than 150 plants. When you drop it down to only 150, and then these are going to be the actual only ones you're allowed to get out through your dispensary, you can't get that big off of only 150. You know, you're not going to be able to produce the amount of weight that you're able to get nowadays. I mean, potentially now you have a chance of getting bigger than we well did.
But the caregivers are still going to be in place, and there's a large number of caregivers in Calumet.
And the caregiver criteria is going to change quite a bit as well, though. As of right now, there is no regulation. Somebody can have their weed growing in a moldy basement. You know, if you have cannabis in a moldy basement, that's not really going to do much good to somebody. There'll be checks and balances. There's going to be many caregivers who are no longer able to caregive because they won't be able to meet these checks and balances. There's many caregivers now that shouldn't be caregiving because they don't meet these checks and balances. So again,
I'm glad you said that because, you know, that's another concern. You know, like the biggest major concern I have is I'm in the same ballpark as our village president. I'm not against this at all. But I am wanting to do it the right way. Okay,
exactly.
I want to do it the right way because what I've seen is if you had, and I know this is probably confidential, but if you had to give us the numbers of the people in the village, just the village of Calumet, how many people got their medical marijuana card from the primary physician? It would be very low, if not zero, maybe one or two. The problem I have is it's very easy to get one of these cards regardless if you need it medically or not, because you just go to the traveling doctor, Bob, Bill, Joe, whatever, you pay your money and you got it.
Yes.
My understanding is, from people I've talked to, that no one has ever refused a medical marijuana card if you pay the fee. Would that be accurate?
That's 100% true.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. I don't want it to be, you know, I want it to be like a good thing. I don't want it to be like, okay, now they've got this thing, bring everybody in.
Well, that's again.
You know, that's a problem for me. That's a big problem for me.
Yeah, that's again why in December with all the checks and balances coming in, it's going to be a good thing. It's going to make it to where companies like our own who have had, you know, we've had a lot of trouble getting our product out there because we charge quite a bit more because of the fact that we follow these checks and balances as to where we're easily outbeaten by somebody who's not willing to take the protocols that they're supposed to, and then they can come out with something much less. So again, the reason why Superior Remedies is working with Zen Government and specifically this dispensary is because we have gone through and checked with many other dispensaries, and we do not like the way that some other ones were ran in the area. Therefore, when we decided to open up, the person who's behind me or backing me up financially wanted to make sure that we were going to be 100% legitimate. He is from Las Vegas, and when they do this stuff out there, they are very, very, very strict. I mean, it is stringent. You have to have checks on the ppms, what's going to be inside of each thing to make sure that the ppms and contaminants are not in there. You know, so we want to get stuff running in a complete, healthy way. Otherwise, as you said, it's completely pointless. And the good thing is, I've been in court several times with, because I do drug counseling. We actually try to get a lot of people off of opiates. I work with the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And so I've actually seen the judge several times deny a card that he knows comes from Dr. Bob, or he tells them they have to go get a second medical opinion. So the good thing is those are starting to become aware, and they are getting cracked down on finally.
Right, that's the problem I have, this could be such a great bill, it could be a better bill, because if they would put in there that you have to get it from like a primary physician, because this traveling doctor thing, to me, really is not good, okay?
Right.
It is not a good situation, but that's, of course, my opinion.
It's not.
It's not a good situation. It would make the medical marijuana users that need it, it would make me feel like, it puts them on a different level, like this is medicine.
It really is needed.
Yes, really needed, because, I know you have a business, and I've been in her business, she has a very clean, nice business, I wasn't allowed to go everywhere because I'm not a card holder. But you never know, I might get a card so I can go back there, you never know.
I mean, one of my points has always been, we don't get complaints about
No.
dispensaries. We do get complaints about bars, and I think that's important. I mean, for me, that's important too. I mean, you run a business that's responsible, no complaints, no problems.
Thank you, that's our focus.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, you've done a really good job, and I appreciate that. I'm just leery of, the old adage, if you build a nice house by a great school, they will come. I have a problem with that as well. If we're gonna be the dispensary capital of the UP, are we gonna have everybody moving in here, and is that gonna?
And again, we can limit the number.
That's
I mean,
where,
it's-
zoning
yeah,
comes in.
it's not like we will have 15.
Right, now see, if
I'm
we
not
were
sure
to
that's
go,
gonna happen.
Well,
No, I think
we
it's
can limit.
important to put a cap.
Right, yeah, the ordinance does indicate the village can cap it, so it's not as if, again, number one, I don't think you can support 15, but number two,
No,
if you can cap it, right, you can say 1 or 2.
right.
Yeah.
We're just trying to do this right.
yeah,
Because we don't want this village just to become a total mess, okay?
Right.
Now, where's your facility, your dispensary? Where is it located?
we're in Hancock right now. We're private because of the fact that.
Are you in Hancock? You're not in Portage Township?
No, we're in Hancock,
You're in
but
Hancock.
we're private. We don't get rid of anything besides our actual carded people right now. So
So you're a caregiver as opposed to a dispensary, or you're a dispensary like she is?
we're caregiving you.
You're caregivers, you're not a dispensary.
That's right.
Okay, because
We're
you
planning
made it
on
sound like
opening-
you had a
No, we
dispensary.
plan on opening a dispensary if this ordinance passes.
Okay, what if we pass this ordinance, I'm gonna throw this out here, and we limit it to like 1 or 2 dispensaries, and we get 50 applications, how do we look at them? Because we're likely to get that, how do you determine who's good, who's not, who comes first, who should get it, who shouldn't get it, how do you do that? How do you
I
play
would
that
say,
game?
That's an interesting question, yeah. That's a good
You know?
I think the state's gonna have some parameters in December.
But still, if you get a lot of applications, and it seems like people that are in this business kind of have their ducks in a row, we get 50 applications with all their ducks in a row, how do we pick?
Right. Yeah, I mean, like you specifically
Yeah.
come up here, if we get 10, and the council says we'll do a lottery, obviously that does you no good unless you're picked.
Yeah.
a semi example of how well people have their ducks in a row is how many people you see here, knowing that this is even going on right now. You see, a lot of people just really quite simply don't, and I don't think you're going to have the flood rush that you're worried about. Now, of course, I could be wrong, but I still think that, again, with the limited plants and you being able to limit the number of dispensaries you have, I really think a first come, first served basis in the sense of the people who are already concerned about it are already there and already worried for it. You know, for me personally, you know, I moved here at age 16. I came here from a witness protection situation. My mom had to flee the state of Colorado. When I came here at 16, I moved into Oregon. You know, from that point forward, I've lived here. I'm now 33, so I've lived in this area from that point forward for 17 years now. I know you by face, I don't know you by name. However,
I know why you know me by face. I know you by face too.
exactly. And so this
Want me to tell you
area,
how?
you can, yeah.
Okay, I worked at the sheriff's department for many, many years.
There you go.
Okay.
So you know that when I was younger, I had a lot of run-ins with the law.
Well, and I kind of, you know, I'm no expert at anything, but I've seen all the case scenarios out there, what goes on, okay?
Right, yep. And so now, with being that way, you know, I've grown up here my whole life, essentially, from the time I was little to the time now. And I see this town specifically, from when I first moved into it had almost a magicalness to it. When you come from a really big city and you see something with brick roads and all the old buildings and everything, it's really a, you know, a beautiful thing. And just to watch it all now crumbling down because we don't have the money to keep the infrastructure going. Each old building is going to come to more damage. Each road is going to have another brick gone. All these things are going to cost money to fix. And I'm saying that this is a thing that not only has the potential to help the people of the area, but also our area in general. You know, I see this as one of the huge things that can really take a step forward and progress Calumet into taking care of all of its ran down streets, roads, and buildings that need to be fixed up so that we can keep our city looking the way it needs to go.
See, the concern I have, if we limit, and I don't know what we're talking about here, if we limit it to say 2 dispensaries, and I'm just picking a number, the maximum you're allowed to charge per year is $5,000.
Yeah, I don't know,
I think the
financially.
licensing fees are going to deter a lot of
Yeah, it's
people.
like-
I mean, it takes a lot of money on hand to start a dispensary.
Right, but then it takes a lot of, okay, like say, I'm just throwing a scenario out there, so there's 2. The licensing fees are $5,000, okay? But if we have to participate with our law enforcement person in anything, it's gonna wash. It's gonna wash real quick.
Right, I don't think.
And I don't even know about
I don't
that.
think from a financial perspective that this is going to be a huge.
It's not gonna be a boom for us at all, because
I mean, it
3%
will
from the
help,
state,
obviously, it's income we don't.
Yeah.
But again, to her point,
it's not a
you know,
boom.
even if you have 2 and you charge $5,000, that's $10,000, and plus I don't
That's
know what
nothing.
sales volume, I don't know what that 3% would amount to, but I mean, it's not going to be tens of thousands of dollars. I'm sure business is a lot better than I think. So I mean, so for me, the judgment is not going to be made on potential revenue, and I don't think it should be made on, even if it was 150,000.
Yeah,
It's not, that's not for me, it's is it good for the village or not good for the village? And that's kind of where I start from.
Again, and when you see within the first 6 months of it raising all the revenue in the areas out in Colorado and California, you're talking again. The revenue is the same type of percentage out there. Granted, there's a lot more people out there.
there's the
However,
people is different.
When the money comes trickling back in from, you know, the 2 different dispensaries you have, let's say you have 2 here, of course, like you said, it's not going to be tens and tens of thousands. However, the business that it brings into the area from other people coming in, the commerce it brings to the other areas, does end up building it up in the long run.
There are other benefits.
Right, yeah.
I don't think the money thing is gonna be a big benefit. I have to like look further into what our legal responsibility is with this village. You know, what we have to do as a village to monitor this, because I think we're gonna have some skin in the game with this.
What I would like to do is, you know, put this draft ordinance in the packet.
Yeah, that should go in there.
If you're available on Tuesday evening, you're very knowledgeable, and I think most of our trustees are not. I think it would be good.
If both of them can,
Right,
because you guys are
right.
very knowledgeable. We wanna do this right, we're not here to say
But to
no.
have an opportunity
Mhm.
for you to explain, and I mean, and I don't want to tell you what to talk about, but I think what is very important is to explain the controls in place, you know, the limits that the village can put in place,
Mhm.
you know, because I think there's a lot of concern, not only amongst the trustees, but people, you know, regrettably, Calumet have a reputation for having problems with alcoholism and drugs. And I'm not putting marijuana in the
Right.
same category as opioids and, you know, stronger drugs, but I think there's an education process that has to take place here.
Definitely.
And so if you're available next Tuesday at 7 p.m., you know, I think it would be good for them to be here to explain this, you know, because I think there's fear, and I think this gives you a chance to address some of that. And then I think I would like to ask the council, you know, I mean, do they at least want us to move forward, to explore this further? Because we only have until December, and again, if they don't know, you know, then I don't want to keep doing this. But if they vote yes, then, I mean, we do have a draft ordinance to begin with, and I think you were involved with this, yes,
Right.
were you involved with this too? No.
Yeah, who made this ordinance? Who was the one?
I wrote that.
You wrote this ordinance? Yeah, because I'm looking at this law, the law, you know, it's written by a lawyer is real, like, you know,
It's,
wordy, but it does say here that, you know, like, getting in, okay, I'll just take transported, for instance, because you're gonna have to transport this stuff in and out, and whatever. It says that they're subject to inspection by a law enforcement officer at any point. So it is talking about law enforcement here.
Again, the transportation is going to be something you guys can approve or disapprove. Each of the 5 things can be individually approved or unapproved.
Right, so if we only want dispensaries.
So if you only
we
want
can do that.
dispensary,
And
no
that to me
altercation.
is something that I think would be very important
Right.
to the council to know, because I think part of their concerns then is having growers and having, you know, distribution and all those, whether there's 5 or 6 things that you can be permitted. And I don't know that, you know, again, you can't, obviously we can't speak for the council. Again, I'm comfortable with it. I think you've operated a good business. But, you know, it's, although I do not have a card, I do know people who do, and it is medicine. I mean, it is not, you know, I'm sure there are people who have cards and use it for recreational purposes. That's not my problem. You know, but I do know it does work.
But see, on the flip side, with, like she said, with the traveling doctors, one of the big problems we have too is that you can go there and you can get a prescription for Suboxone. You can go there and get a prescription. I know somebody who went there and they got painkillers, you know, so these traveling doctors are not just handing out prescriptions for marijuana, they're handing out prescriptions for anything you're
That's
taking.
why it needs to be shut down. See, I would be a big proponent of this, that they would shut that down. Those are my 2 concerns, shut that down and make it not a crime within the federal government, because, you know, at any point in time, the feds can come in here and they can, if they see anything they don't like, they can shut stuff down and make it a big problem, because in the eyes of the federal law, because federal law trumps state law,
Right.
you know, they can come in and make misery for this village, for any jurisdiction, you know. I wish those 2 things would go away, because to me it doesn't make sense.
Well, one thing you do have is a lot better, and of course it could change, but right now they do have a promise that the feds aren't going to interfere with the illegal space, so.
Yeah, I always worry what Jeff Sessions is going to do, but
You know, like I said, it could change, but.
right now, yeah, exactly, and that goes back to the Obama administration, but you're right, yeah.
Yeah.
But there have been many investigations on these things throughout the UP.
Well, yeah, we actually had,
Because I'm aware of some of them.
I had an ATF and 2 upset units show up to our borough, and they went through everything. But we passed with flying colors, so they walked away, and that was that.
And that's your job to do that. Now, I'm sorry.
I just want to make a comment. And in the dispensary, I'm looking at it, at least you know what's in and out of those doors. You know marijuana is going in and out. All these bars that's on every one of these corners, you go into any of those bars, the weed is the least thing on your mind. It's just ridiculous, and you cannot control that. I just want to make that
No,
comment.
that's what I'm saying. A dispensary is a good, reputable business.
Right.
And the ones, yours is. I mean, again, we have no complaints about Zen Garden, but back when the North End was open, there were a lot of complaints.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I always sit there and think to myself, you know, people are concerned about dispensaries, but I'm like, they're not the problem. It's
Well,
irresponsible bar owners that are the problem. Yeah.
And I agree with you 100%, but I don't think that's going to change if you pass this ordinance. It's not going to
Right.
change
No, it's not.
because there's so much stuff out there. There's so many caregivers, if you want to call them that, out there. That's not going to change because there's a lot of people that aren't going to go and pay the $250 to get their card. It's just fact.
This is true. However, the one thing that is going to be, as I said, 25% lower deaths of opiates does mean a lower use of opiates. So, as it actually evolves and people would say, oh look, there's a safe spot for me to get my medicine, I don't have to worry about getting ripped off, robbed, or cheated.
Or quality, to be honest, quality.
Exactly. They might choose an alternative, something that's not going to be so harmful to them and harmful to society. When you look at the difference between somebody who's smoking compared to many of the other drugs that we see being used, you see a lot more crime tied to the other drugs. And so marijuana lowers the use of harder drugs, as to where it has traditionally been thought that it ups the use of harder drugs. It is proven, and this actually comes from, in my paperwork, it's the CDC that actually does this, and I can't remember the other organization, but it's actually, statistically proven that it lowers
The CDC is a pretty authoritative source as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, so.
But I have read, and I'm going to find it in my information, I have read some things about Colorado, and the downside to Colorado is there's a lot of people that are transit that have come in. So downtown Denver is full of transit people living on the streets. That's gone up tremendously. What else has gone up tremendously is driving under the influence, okay? Because I don't care if it's oxys, if it's marijuana, it's alcohol, or whatever, but the driving under the influence of marijuana has gone up like 120% in Colorado.
Sure.
Yeah, so, and it's making, just like alcohol, if you're old enough to drink, fine, but don't drink and drive, okay? It's making more problems for law enforcement. We have such a skeletal law enforcement here. It's like if you say yes to something, how do you take it back if it becomes a big problem?
Yeah,
That's a concern I have.
But whether or not there's a dispensary, I think people are still going to get their marijuana
They will.
either on the black
They are
market
now.
or,
They are now.
or exactly, and marijuana's not going to go away.
No.
Whether or not there's an ordinance, so that just comes down to the responsibility.
But we're backing it, that's the difference. We're legally backing it.
And with it being recreational in Colorado, I think that's what brought a lot of people there. Recreation being the key word. That made us where everyone thought, oh, this is going to be a free-reign territory. We're going to be able to go there and, do it.
Anybody can walk in and buy.
Right, exactly.
That's why it's
Yeah,
better
there is
to
a
have
difference.
it everywhere, just no medical, just have it open, and then you won't have the concentrations of people
Yeah.
going places. It would be a whole lot better. I mean, seriously, it would be.
Yeah,
You know,
legalize it.
Yeah, just, legalize it because it
Yeah,
makes no
petitioning for
sense.
hopefully recreational for 2018. I think they've collected
Oh,
almost
valid.
all the signatures that they need, so we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know, this is a tough one, and it's gonna go right down to, do we have a special meeting, we have public input, like how do the people in the village feel about it? Do we make a decision on our own? How is it gonna affect us financially, law enforcement wise, things like that? How is it gonna affect the
Well,
village and progress? Are people wanting to come and open up a new business?
The
I
excise
don't know.
tax returns specifically to help law enforcement.
Because I'll tell you one thing that I was made aware of, you've got your business right here in the, is that the 300 block? Is that
Right
right?
on 6.
Okay, there used to be another one in the block before.
Yeah, Northern.
Yeah, now, the problem with having a business is, the guy that owned the building where the other place was, he had to tell the people that they had to move, because if you own a business like yours, your insurance is gonna go through the roof, absolutely through the roof, and so he had to end it for that reason. So there's all these other little layers of financial responsibility that go along with this.
But that's the property owner's decision.
Right, that is the property
Right,
owner's decision.
obviously, whoever
I
owns your
talked to
building.
Brian Hudson, obviously, he came to visit this summer and was happy with the renovations that we did, the way that we were running the business. He hasn't had any complaints from the caregiver.
Well, I don't think people like you, I think you run a good business, because I was into that day, I just walked in and said, hi, I'm here, and they let me look at what I could look at. I couldn't go to the back. It was neat, clean, it seemed very orderly. Your kind of business is not the problem. The problem are these caregiver businesses that are, multiple residents, apartment buildings, on the streets, in bars. That's the problem.
And that's where I think licensing fees are going to be beneficial.
But it's not gonna make a dent. It won't even buy, 5,000 two times is gonna be by nothing. I mean, seriously, we're not gonna get new roads. I mean, that's putting a shiny pretty on it.
Well, let's say that is what you start with now. I mean, but down the road, like in our company specifically, I know we have plans on growing. As we grow slowly, as the things progress, more could come to Calumet. And again, even if the financial boost isn't going to be a huge help, the fact that it lowers the amount of people dying off of other drugs is a huge help.
Those people are, if they're gonna do something, they're gonna do something. I mean, it's just what
the
it
purpose
is.
right
It
there
has
is to have
nothing
a
to
better
do with
alternative. Let's
marijuana.
choose the better alternative.
Yeah. Well, but they're not. They're gonna choose whatever's available. You know that, I know that. Let me ask you this, City of Hancock are not gonna be in, right?
What's that?
City of Hancock is not gonna write an ordinance?
City of Hancock can't even agree to have chickens inside the city.
Okay, but they're not gonna write an ordinance. City of Hope is not gonna write an
No,
ordinance.
City of Hope has had one since
Yeah.
2010.
City of Hope is gonna write one.
They've had one
Okay,
since
but City of
2010.
Hancock is not gonna write an ordinance.
But they haven't said whether they are or not.
Okay. Because I've just heard this in the, I don't know.
What we know is that City of Hancock right now is fully on board with the board members. However, they said you have to get the community on board, so we're in the process of doing different, so that's where we actually plan on having, when it comes to our larger plant grow and stuff like that. We know somebody who's planning on doing a larger plant grow down in that area, so they're trying to get Hancock to approve that. That would be much later on down the line, but, again, it comes down to the residents of Hancock. You have a very huge, one side of Hancock that is all about the liberal, and the other side of Hancock is very conservative. There's not a real middle ground, and so it's like, when it comes to the town meetings, it's kind of, a lot of arguments. So, I mean, even chicken's going to get passed there, so, I mean.
No, and I think you'll find the same thing. Actually, you probably find our population more skewed to conservative, especially the township. I mean, the older population, but again, people I've talked to, they're uncomfortable. But again, they haven't heard, they really haven't explored it. I mean, I think their big fear is we're going to have big grow operations, and again, that this is going to become like the marijuana center of
And it may.
and
It just may.
well, no, I mean, we control it.
I understand that,
The point is we do
but
have
one
control.
could be monstrous. It could be an entire block. And have
Right,
all
no,
these facilities.
But again, we have to give approval for
Right,
that.
I understand.
And as long as the citizenry say, no, that's not what we want, then we have an obligation to listen to them. But, frankly, I think most people probably don't even know there's a dispensary in town.
Well, that's because she runs a good business. If
Well, no,
everybody could run a
exactly.
business like her, it would
Exactly,
be
no,
good.
and that's my point.
It's the outer outskirts of everything.
Right, and that's my point. So, again, I mean, would you agree we give this draft ordinance to the council members? I mean, obviously not to adopt, yeah. Do you want them, we can also make copies of the state act, if you think.
Oh, I've got pamphlets for you, Benson.
Oh, okay, yeah, if you have them, actually, if you have them by tomorrow, we'll put them in the packets, because then people have a chance to read them beforehand. So they're not reading them while we're trying to do something else. And plus it allows them to frame their questions. And then, yeah, if you could be there, I think you can go a long way to reassuring trustees, to kind of calming some of their fears.
Be happy to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's again, I think, a lot of us in village government are of a generation where, here's your brain on drugs, and so I think a lot of people are uncomfortable because, again, just a generational thing.
It's hard to unlearn and relearn as we relearn
Right.
it as a medicine.
Yeah, exactly.
My background is
Yeah,
healthcare and my focus is healthcare.
right.
But that percentage of people that use it as medicine, that's awesome, but but the percent that use it because they want to just use marijuana is tremendous. That's the problem.
Same thing with pills though.
Exactly. But the problem is pills initially start with your primary care and then they escalate from there usually.
But you know, this morning I just saw a thing,
It's,
where you can get fentanyl.
You can buy it online.
I mean, that's something that you saw too.
The
Yeah.
Silver been around.
Well, I've known that for a long time.
Really? Oh, see,
Well, yeah, you can put it in the internet, you can say buy oxycodone without a prescription and that's thousands of them out.
We at
They're
least
usually in
have
Mexico,
an
everywhere.
opportunity to regulate it within a dispensary and have limitations on how much medicine is dispensed, how often medicine is dispensed.
See, that's not the problem. The problem is, for me, I believe that'll be done probably correctly and regulated. It's the amount of people that are gonna come in because now we've got this thing, okay? So now we're gonna bring way more people into our town, which means more people possibly causing trouble, living in these free apartments. It's just gonna go on and on and on. I have a concern with that. Because I remember years ago, many years ago, they built a big rehab facility in Atlantic Mine. And it's now the Polaris place. And it was a good thing when it started, but pretty soon they were busting them in from Detroit everywhere. And the crime went up tremendously in these facilities because, you know, they get up here and it's a nice place to live. It's a free apartment. They can get what they want free and then you're stuck with them. I have concerns about that, just like in the city of Denver now, because it's recreational. There's just, you know, I've had people that have been to Denver recently and said that you get off the airplane and you go down the street and there's just people everywhere just sitting on the streets, just stoned out of their brains.
No, it's not that bad.
Well, I'm just telling you from personal experience, somebody told me that,
Yeah.
it's nasty. I don't know, I have not been there, so this is just hearsay.
I have lots of pictures on my phone from Denver. It's actually very
I know, but
nice.
you're gonna give us the warm and fuzzy because you're proactive, okay? What we're trying to accomplish here is not warm and fuzzy or against. We want,
I don't try
We
to
want
give you
facts.
straight details, and this is the facts, not warm and fuzzy about it. The facts of the matter is drug users are going to use drugs no matter what. The facts is marijuana is much safer whether someone's abusing it or not. The facts is it doesn't kill them. The facts is people stop using hard drugs to use marijuana, and that's backed up by the CDC.
I
That's
don't
fact.
believe that. I don't believe they.
But then you don't guarantee, but
We've had
that's fine, you
several
don't have to believe
dispensaries
it, but it
here
still is a
for, I
fact.
think Noggin's been operating for 8 years now.
Yes.
Long time.
And Northern's been operating for a few years now too.
Yes.
And I don't think that that's brought a large population increase. We have
Yeah.
505 card holders in Hogan County. We've registered
505 cardholders in Home County?
200 visitors to date. in
So,
our 9 months of
If you were a guessing person, how many do you think of those 505 have gotten them from their primary doctor?
That number is increasing. Actually, I have customers that have been recommended to me from Adam Firmidig from UP Health System,
I've heard
whom
that
I've
as well.
never met personally. He's never been to the business, but just by word of mouth, or maybe he heard our radio broadcast. I know that there are a couple local physicians that are getting on board now just because of that. So.
Yeah, every single one of my patients has their card for the primary caregiver. It's
Every
a
one of them?
requirement. It's a requirement for me to take you as a patient. All my patients are also.
But they're not from the
50.
traveling doctors, they're from the primary doctors.
Most
The
of
card.
them, yeah, 3 of them come from Mackenzie, and I can't tell you the names of the other ones, I don't remember them offhand. But yes, they're all from Portage. Apparently, Aspires doesn't sign them, so I hear.
Yeah, no, there are, again, primary care physicians that are still uncomfortable doing it.
Yeah.
And
But no, I mean, so and again, so for me, I take a very great pride and importance in what I do, and so I don't allow people to come up to me. The way I see it is if they come up to me with a card they've got from Dr. Bob, what I've seen in the past is when I deal with those types of people, then they end up showing up and getting their limit, and then the next day they want to show up and get their limit again, and you're like, oh, you've gone through that much that quickly. So,
Can you legally deny them though? Because they got
Oh,
their
yeah.
card from a physician.
yeah, technically I don't have to
Yeah.
give them my 2.5, technically by law, I don't have to give them 2.5 ounces except for every 2 weeks.
Can you
So
deny them if they have?
I have
that?
denied people before, and I've actually dropped them as my patients before because of that, so you can do both.
I think rather it'll encourage some good tourism. I've had patients that come from the lower state that are passing through on their way up to Copper Harbor, and they'll stop by, and if they're gonna stop by at the shop, maybe they'll stop and eat at the pub. Maybe they'll check out the yoga studio gallery, you know, and I think it would be a positive. We don't know that it's going to cause a lot of people to move here with the laws coming about.
No.
A lot of dispensaries are gonna pop up. You can cap how many are gonna be in your city, but they're gonna pop up all over as we have more leniency and where
They don't have to come here, they can go to Lansing or
Right.
wherever they.
Right.
Right.
So, let me ask you this, Hancock probably is not gonna write an ordinance. Houghton, you said, has. Why would you pick Calumet over Houghton if you're already down in neck woods?
Oh, over in Houghton, they already have 2 dispensaries over there, you know, in Houghton, they already have quite a few things going. I actually, as I said, have an actual love for Calumet, so I mean, this is where I came, this is where I like, this is where I want to be. And again, you know,
Let me ask you this question, are there any buildings that people already own that they're thinking about turning into a dispensary that you're aware of? No? So I wonder what it's gonna, I wanna know what it's gonna look like. Where is it gonna be? Because we have zoning and it can't be, we wouldn't approve it for like residential,
It's
right?
gotta be in a commercial
It's
district.
gotta be in a commercial district.
I mean, lots of empty buildings.
We have lots of people.
yeah, I think really when it comes down to it, the people who are going to be troublemakers, crime causers, all these types of, when it comes to marijuana, you know, you're talking about in Detroit, there's a dispensary on every single block. You know, when you go to Lansing, same thing. You go to Traverse City, they have 7 dispensaries just in Traverse City, and they're all pretty decent sized dispensaries. So I mean, in order for people to trickle all the way up here just for marijuana, that would be a whole lot of avoiding other cities that are a lot better than this city as far as things to steal and people to steal
I'm
from.
not talking about people from Traverse City, I'm talking about people that don't work and are never gonna work, those kind of people that just come here for a free apartment and now you got a dispensary. If you were to do a survey of the village of Calumet, a lot of the village's rentals, and of those rentals, a large majority don't work, they're on MISTA, or they're seniors. There's not a whole lot of in between.
Not gonna be able to afford the medicine.
Well,
Not for the
How do they
dispensaries
get now
price.
then? How do they get it?
Because now, there's not checks and balances on the growers, and again, like I said, there's so many growers right now, you could buy it from Joe Schmo, who's your friend. You know what I mean? When it becomes strictly a lot more monitored, there's a lot more checks and balances as it grows, you're going to lower the amount of caregivers because of that. This is going to hire the amount of people that have to go to the dispensary. They're not going to be able to afford it having no job. I mean, pure and
Okay, well,
simple.
let me ask you this, how is that gonna change for those people? Because you say now they all have to go to a dispensary because now it's a legal dispensary, but do you think those same people that can just get it from a bar on the street corner or whatever are gonna come to your dispensary with a card? Or do you think they're gonna continue the way they are? They're
You
probably
know,
gonna
to be
continue.
honest, you don't know.
I know, I want it honest here, because we're really
Yeah.
seriously looking at
To be
this.
honest, you really don't know. You know, it all depends. You know, I think there are certain amounts of people who care, say, hey, now I don't have to take the risk of breaking the law. They're probably going to do what they need to do to not break the law. For the people that don't care, they're not going to care, but they're not going to care one way or the other. You know what I mean? So,
Okay, let me ask you this, how much do you charge for marijuana? Give me a ballpark, what?
ballpark about $10 per gram.
$10 per gram?
Our prices range from, $9 to $11 per gram.
$9 to $11 a gram? That's kind of what I figured you guys were charging. And it's only in, you don't have any, you don't have any plans for oils, brownies, all of the above, or is it just gonna be strictly,
We actually create,
We offer concentrates.
you offer concentrate as well?
Capsules, tinctures. It depends on what ailment you're trying to relieve.
yeah, that's what I would say. Our company actually creates more lotions, capsules, tinctures than we do actual flour.
And everything's tested. All of our products are lab tested for potency,
Same.
for pesticides, for molds.
How do you get them here now?
What?
How do you get your product to your store now?
Oh, well, I transport. I have to transport it.
You physically have to do it, you physically have to do it, is that what you're saying?
Well, again, I don't have a storefront, so me, I only deal with people that are in
Oh, you're the
caregiver.
caregiver.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm trying to
I
get some-
transport it, and I actually was pulled over about a week ago because of a crack in my windshield. And by a state trooper, and he was concerned about the smell of marijuana, and I let him know that I was transporting to my dispensary that I own the Zen Garden. He just wanted to see the cards, and that's fine. We want to work with law enforcement, of course. We want it to be safe for the village residents and also for us. So
Because you don't want to jeopardize your business.
Right,
Right.
and we don't want to be any danger.
Right.
So security measures are huge.
Yeah, hopefully you guys will come Tuesday because, you know, there's gonna be a lot of questions that the other trustees are gonna ask. You know, I've read this one, I'm gonna read it again, and I'm gonna, because like I said, my concern is, you know, what skin do we have in the game here? Because if we say yes, you know, what kind of liability do we have with law enforcement, enforcement?
And I was going to ask, has Keith received anything?
I don't know, but then it says an advisory panel here, that there has to be a marijuana advisory panel. Is there one of these in Holton already? Because they have a dispensary? Because it says you have to have one, and you have to have on this, it shall consist of 17 members, okay? And you have to have, including the director of the state police and or his designee. So it says you have to have one registered marijuana patient or one representative of a grower, a processor, a provisioning, a safety, one from the township, one from the village, one from the county, one from the sheriff's department, one from the local police, and a physician, and one secure transporter. You have to have all those as part of you have to create this board. And it
That
has to
sounds
be-
like the state's provisionary board.
Is that a county or state provision? That doesn't
I think
sound
that's
I don't
state
know.
provision.
And well, the fact that she said township and village, so I'm wondering.
Yeah,
that
That
sounds like
sounds
it.
exactly
Well,
like
Yeah,
that's
because
good.
it's also
It's
state
not
officials
local.
too. It's state officials too. So
Right.
yeah, you're right. Maybe it is a state.
Right, I think that's the state provisionary
Yeah,
board
I
that
don't know.
already been
Just-
assembled.
Well,
They'll
I
meet
mean,
in October.
and clearly there's questions to be answered. But again, my big thing is I don't want to spend a lot of time if the council's not going to put something in place.
Right, we just,
And that's,
yeah,
and that to me
right.
is, on Tuesday, I want the council to say, yes, go forward with this, or don't. And if they say go forward, then those are things that, you know, and they probably will have questions that they're gonna want answered, that we don't have answers to, or that you guys don't have answers to, so. But I think, you know, again, what I'm looking for is a sense of, you know, do they want us to move forward? Because again, otherwise we're gonna be spinning our wheels and then for nothing. So-
yeah, we want to get it
I
right.
think it's important to stay focused on facts and not perspectives, because the fact of the matter is, regardless of what somebody thinks that they do or don't see, or do or don't read, or report or write, the facts of the matter is that Colorado is reporting an 8.8% drop in crime.
And I
But
think,
Colorado's different than us. We're a small
well, because it's
little
recreational,
jurisdiction.
but
Right.
I think that's, you know, again, you're gonna have to overcome prejudices.
Yeah.
Because again, you know, most of us grew up in an era where, you know, to take marijuana was unthinkable. I worked for a company that if you had even the most minute trace in your blood, you know, you would not be hired. So, you know, and so I mean, the way you present it, it's factual. Again, and that's what people need to hear. They need to understand that this is going to be a reputable business, that it is not going to be a source of criminal activity within the village.
They can't predict that though.
You can't, but we do have some experience with Zen. And what's Northern, because it's down in Hubble now, right?
Northern Specialty Home?
Yeah.
Oh, Noggin.
Yeah, okay. When they were here in town, I don't recall, in fact, they were big supporters of things like Copper Dog and all that. And I don't recall, you know, again, same with your business, having problems with police calls. So we do have some experience, you know, and again, they're not going to jeopardize their business.
Right, but you know, I look at it as like, they're doing the absolute right thing, okay? I don't have any problem with Zen Garden. It's what's out there that's not affected by her business, because there are always gonna be more people that come if you have a dispensary, if you have more people that are providing stuff, okay? And I just wanna know what kind of skin we're gonna have in the game, because if we overwhelm our police officer, we've got troubles, because it's very costly to get another police officer to monitor things. It's, you know, we're a real small jurisdiction here, and I don't want the village to be known, because, you know, if you don't live here anymore, but you have lived here, and you only come once a year and look at this place, I have relatives that will say, oh my goodness, what has happened to Calumet? Seriously. So I don't want, and I've lived here for a long time, I don't want Calumet to just be known as the, you know, come and get your joint capital of the copper country. You see what I'm saying? I have fears that if we get a big dispensary here and it has to be in commercial, that's going to be a deterrent for people wanting to have a business here. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I don't want that to happen. I want it to be like welcoming to everybody.
I think we've been well received so
You
far.
have
We've
been-
been operating for 9 months now.
Right, and that's a lot of my opinions I base
Right.
on your business. Because, you know, I certainly, frankly, I think most people don't even know it's there.
They don't
I
know.
mean, that they don't know
Well,
what
they
you
think we're
do.
a tea room usually.
Sorry?
They think we're a tea room
Oh,
or,
right.
yeah.
I'm sure you get that. People
Yeah,
walk in
yeah.
like,
A lot of people say, yeah, they come in and they say, what is this place? And we've had some really good conversations from it.
But again, I think that's important. Again, I base a lot of my opinions on your business and the fact that it is a good business. And again, that people don't know, you know, that, again, you know, that it's you know, you have a customer base, they use it, we have no problems. Like I said, I had a lot more complaints about the North End bar than like I said,
Healthcare is personal and discreet, and if you go about it that way,
Yeah.
then we're not here to.
Are you covered by the HIPAA laws?
Yeah.
You are?
Yeah.
You are? Okay. Yeah. So, no.
even the caregivers,
Yeah.
they're all
Yeah,
covered.
yeah, okay. So, I mean, I think that's how I would like to proceed. I mean, does that seem reasonable to you guys?
We want you to come here with facts, because the two of us are just here, and we've got many more trustees, and most of the trustees don't know anything, okay? So we want like good facts so we can weigh this. I don't think Colorado, to be honest with you, because it's a recreational state, has anything
Well, this
to
is
do
why,
with, you know, I'm kind of opting out of Colorado.
this is a good statistic to use Colorado, because Colorado went from medical first and then went recreational. So you can actually look at the medical aspect of it and pull out all the statistics of that, and then you can actually see what happened when it became recreational. So the drop in crime rate, the drop in deaths for both California and Colorado, when you look at the time on that, those are both going to be during the medicinal time era. It's not even going to be recreational at the time that's
But I'm just going to tell you, I have a paper that tells me about driving under the influence, and it's
Oh,
tremendously increased.
I'm sure
in
that's
Colorado.
gone up, but the fatalities and accidents has gone down.
I don't know, I gotta get my paper and look at it, but I'm gonna bring that as well. You know, none of this is perfect.
Right, but don't also remember, Colorado is recreational.
Right, it's a whole different ballgame.
We'll deal with that if and when that comes to Michigan. I mean, there is a difference.
But if we're different than Colorado, then we can't take the negative, you know,
Right, exactly.
statistics of Colorado and put that into play.
But we can't take the word
consider
fuzzy
positive.
either, you know, because
Well-
it's different. It's a total,
Right.
it's like apples and oranges.
And that's why I'm saying, if we look at the medical aspect of it, when it was medicinal out there, you could definitely look at a lot of that. It's medicinal in a few other states as well, so I think look at that aspect as
No,
well.
I think you guys did a good presentation, and again, I think you'll go a long way to making the trustees feel more comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just wanna be comfortable with this. Well, I can add something that I've heard, one of my children lives in Alaska, okay? And Alaska is recently, as of November, so they've gone to recreation. Okay, Alaska's not a very populated state. They have less people in the whole state than they do in the city of Detroit. It's, now that it's recreational, it's very, very monitored. And one of my kids that lives there says it's sort of made it better. Because there was a lot of, because if you're not familiar with the state, Alaska is sort of a place where a lot of people go because they're running from the law, they want to start new, okay? And it's helped tremendously, and this is just his view of it, but they still have tremendous problems, but it seems to have made it a little better, and that's just his view of it.
Like 20 hours of daylight.
It's a depressing place.
Oh, yeah, 24 hours a day, like 24 hours.
That's only for a couple months though.
Yeah,
That's actually a really good area to look at, because right there, when you look at the indigenous people of Alaska, you're talking about 60% of them have some sort of addiction. You know, that, I
I
know
was
this
gonna
is,
probably higher in the villages, alcohol, because most of the villages are called dry villages, because they don't want them drinking, because it's
Right,
such a
exactly.
problem, with
So,
assaults and
when you
rapes
see
and
they
everything
can help
else.
in an area like that, though, I mean, it does show that it can bring people who are into crime, into drugs, into seeing a little bit more light, a little bit more.
That still hasn't changed, you know, people are still gonna do those other things, it's just in the bigger cities, it's not.
Well, I've personally had a friend die from opiate overdose, and so I know that 25% lower means a lot to me. You know, if 25% less people are dying from opiates, that's a lot to me.
No, I
But,
just have.
and I agree with you, but you're never gonna convince me that that person that's using opiates doesn't use anything they can get their hands on, because once you become an addict, you'll put in your body anything that's available, period.
Well, we met each other when I was 17 because
Yes.
I had robbed the store,
I don't
Calumet bar.
Yeah, I don't
I got
remember.
arrested for breaking and entering. I went to the jail. After that, I had gotten out. I was heavily addicted to speed.
Mhm.
When I actually got switched over, when I got medical, put onto marijuana, that actually got me off of speed.
Mhm.
So I personally, not
Well, you're a
opiates,
success story.
not opiates, but personally, I have had marijuana get me off of drugs. Also, with it giving me a hope, a job, something to do, I got off the streets, no longer doing things illegal, nothing like that. I do things completely legal now. A big part of that was I had a child at 18, and the child made me change my life a lot as well. However, what I'm saying is, I personally have been addicted to drugs and have personally given the drugs up. You know what I mean? So I do know it does have some help in doing that. You know. So.
Well, I'm gonna guarantee you people that we're gonna take a hard look at all the facts. It's gonna boil down to what the people in this village want, what makes sense for us. I don't know exactly how we're gonna do this. Do you think are we gonna have a public hearing on this? Or are we gonna decide at the meeting on Tuesday? We're gonna bring all the facts and let the trustees decide.
Well, I think on Tuesday, all we want is an indication from the trustees is, do they want us to move forward? And then after that, again, if this is the ordinance, the draft of the ordinance, then we probably should get hose as well. I guess I'd be curious to see.
Yeah.
Have they passed theirs yet?
They've had one since 2010.
Okay, so I should be, I think they're all
We
their
should get
ordinances.
theirs too.
Well, all their ordinances are online, so it should be readily available online, because I'd be curious to see what theirs is. And again, so when we have a draft ordinance, I think we should have a public hearing on it, on the assumption that the council will say move forward. And yeah, I would certainly think that the next 2 months that we, well, again, on the assumption that the council will say to move forward, that we can have this in place within 2 months.
That's a good idea.
Yay, nay?
Okay, I'm looking at here, it says, no application shall be approved unless these things happen in this ordinance we wrote up. The fire department and the chief of police have inspected proposed location for compliance with all laws which they are in charge to enforce. The application stakeholder shall have to pass a background check. Did you have to pass a background check there, too?
I will.
You
When,
will?
under-
Or you
when
do
we-
it now?
When I apply for a license,
Okay.
when we apply for a license with the state, we'll have to meet.
Okay.
That's kind of what I was saying with right now, it's so loose and ridiculous that
It is.
anybody and
It
everybody
is.
can go out
It
and
is.
grow. And once those laws change, it's really going to cut it down, even if you have an assault or anything like that, you won't be able to grow. Any kind of violent or drug-related criminal activity.
I think in the law, though, it says within the last 5 years, the drug conviction, but it might
Yep,
be a
you're right.
misdemeanor.
Last
Yeah,
5 years,
5
and it's 10 years for any other felony.
Yeah,
Okay.
so there is, a
Violent crime.
right.
There is a time there.
Mhm.
Yep, nobody, they can't actually be in the industry at all if they fall within those parameters of a drug charge within the last 5 years or a violent crime within the last 10.
Not a drug charge, a drug conviction.
Or conviction, yeah,
There's a
you're
big
right,
difference
you're right,
between
you're right.
a
I
charge and
apologize.
conviction,
Yep,
yeah.
I apologize, you're right.
Yeah, well, we're gonna bring this to the council, and I would say that if you guys show up, it'd be great. Give us
Are there 7 members?
There's 6 right now.
There's 6 right now, yeah.
This is the,
Is that from the state of Michigan? Okay. Thank you. We'll include this, yeah, and it's put out by a law firm, not the state of Michigan, right?
right.
Yeah, I
So
think
it's like a group that's trying to get it like recreational, it's a proponent group, it's not the state of Michigan?
No,
This
it's
is
got it's a nice
pure medical.
consolidated pamphlet of the qualifying conditions, the act itself, the statistics of card holders throughout the state.
So it does have the law in it too, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, it's got the
Mhm.
complete one.
And then isn't there a couple questions too? Frequently asked questions where they kind of answer a few things too?
Yeah, no, this is good.
This is
And this is good to know.
this is very good to have. Anything that'll help us make a good decision.
Yeah, it's just
Not-
information,
yeah.
you know, statistics, information.
Yeah, there are question and answers in the frequently asked questions, so yeah, this is a little packet, so. All right, are we done with that then?
We're done with that part. I have another ordinance question that is not related to medical marijuana, though, but thank you guys. You guys are
Well, I
always
was gonna say if you want, but.
Yeah, you're welcome to
yeah.
stay, but this is about blight and dangerous children ordinance.
So,
We don't have to worry about
7
that.
o'clock.
Virginia's got Blake down for us, we don't have to
I
worry
got
about
blight,
Blake.
yeah.
Yeah, she's got
You
a
keep
back.
your garbage off the street and you'll be my friend.
No, for sure. Thank you for stopping by, Virginia, too.
Well, I told you I would, and I
know, I
don't do
appreciate you
things that
sticking to your word.
Yep, I stuck to my word.
Stop by.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
nice to meet you both.
Thanks. That was very informational,
Good.
which I did notice in the paper last night, though, that they had it all wrong. Did you notice the
I
article?
read last night's paper,
Yeah, if you read last night's paper, it said, they were talking about medical marijuana, and it said that if they don't act, then people can have a dispensary.
Oh,
They
so
did
it's
the
the
exact
reverse.
opposite,
They
and I was
do the
thinking,
reverse, yeah.
they really screwed
Yeah,
that up
it is, it's
big
exactly
time,
what it
yeah.
is,
Well, I have a couple of questions about ordinances. Did our blight ordinance ever get registered with the county clerk's office?
I don't
Like
know.
you're
I'll
supposed
find out.
to,
I will find out.
as follow through, you're supposed to do?
I probably not, I don't think John knew that, and I didn't know that too.
I think you have to do
No, I
that.
agree. yeah.
But I have talked to, not recently, but a long time ago, I've talked to Jennifer Lorenz, who's the county clerk, and she said that
So, yeah,
she said they're very old, she doesn't really have anything on record, and we should probably have it on record.
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so if we could do that. The other one is about, the blight ordinance. Okay, the blight ordinance, we put into effect. I think we need to talk about how we're enforcing it, but my biggest concern is, we talked about at one of the council meetings, that if we enforce these things, our attorney tells us he's not gonna get involved. So have we looked into getting a
Yeah,
part-time person?
yeah, what I'm gonna do, and this is on my list, and I'll have an answer by Tuesday, is keep the forge it done work for the DBA, so.
Okay. Because it wouldn't be very often.
And that's what it is, it's
Right.
just, yeah, it's just, I don't know how he works, I mean, yeah, but I will explain, it's just on a contingency, but it's just on a case-by-case basis, that
Okay.
from time to time, we may have.
Very
a certain
seldom,
requirement.
yeah.
Right.
Very seldom.
Right, yeah,
Okay.
because our village attorney will not litigate.
Yeah, and I don't know, he's
Yeah,
a
he's
global,
retired,
yeah,
he's
he's,
retired,
right.
he's retired, yes.
So my next question is, like, on the blight ordinance that we did pass, the only thing, it wasn't even a blight thing, it was a scaffolding, which we were very successful because we approached it and, they had time to respond and they finally took it done. Okay, now we have this blight ordinance, but there's still a lot of blight, okay? How are we gonna accomplish this? Is our protocol gonna be, we have to have a complaint from somebody within the village? Can it be our law enforcement that sees that somebody has never cut their grass and he stops by and hands them a copy of the ordinance? I mean, how are we gonna do this? Because we've passed this thing and sat on it.
Yeah,
So we
you're
do-
right, we've never really,
Right,
yeah, you're right, I've never really spent a lot of time saying how you go about it.
Right. Because what I'd like to see, my recommendation would be if there's something that law enforcement sees, because he's the one that's, I'm not right or wrong, you're not right or wrong, but if you see something that you think maybe you can talk to people about, I'd like to see maybe him or anybody in the village, if there's an issue, talk to him, and in a very nice way, bring that person a copy of the ordinance and say, you know, we have a village-wide ordinance and the village would really appreciate it. Here's a copy, clean it up. And I bet you that would solve it most times.
You know,
We need to do that.
I know, I've thought to myself, especially the one thing that I would like to see, is especially when you go down at the end of 8th Street towards Scott,
Yes.
there's a lot of uncut grass.
Oh, yeah.
And I you know, and it's almost like, okay, let's focus on.
It's not just uncut, it's like never cut.
Right,
Yes.
yeah, also.
Right,
And so it's kind of like, okay, let's focus on that.
Right.
You know, let's try to get, let's get that done.
Right.
And then once we get people in the habit of cutting grass,
Mhm.
then you start, and the other thing would be vehicles.
Mhm.
And I don't drive around, but I think that's, I'd say the two most common complaints I get are uncut grass
Mhm.
and vehicles that don't belong, or, are abandoned, or, have been there a long time. So,
Right.
so it's almost like, because the key, you don't want him to, there's so many things that you can do.
Right. I mean, we don't want to be, yeah, law
So
enforcement
it's,
is different.
so I was kind of thinking along those lines, that the two things that,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what you hear, but the two things I hear complaints about are
Grass.
grass and abandoned
Right,
vehicles.
right. Yeah, what might be a good thing to start with, because we have passed this, but we've done zero enforcement on it. We did have it in the paper. I'm suggesting, and the village council will have to, to decide this, next time we send out garbage bills, just send a copy of the blight ordinance and just have a little note there, say this is our blight
We'll
ordinance.
probably do something like that,
Yeah.
because otherwise it's.
Well, it's too big. That's why I'm thinking something like this. And
Just have it reproduced.
right, just have it reproduced like this, and, if you're in violation of any of this, the village will start enforcing these things, and just something, because we've done a good job passing, but we haven't followed up.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So something like that would be awesome. So do I have to put that, a lot of wonder ordinances when we talk about it.
Yeah, because I'll write
Right.
it down.
Then I have one more issue, which I think is really important, and I think this guy hit the nail on the head, is the historic dangerous buildings. We had a list from Mr. Green, and we really need to start talking to people, sending them something saying, your buildings are in dire distress. He gave us back in June a copy of the most egregious ones. I think we should send these people letters. Send these people
And
letters.
that has been done in the past, but obviously we do it again.
Well, he's requested that we do, there's 5 that are the most egregious. Now, the one that's on here, and I'll show you the one that's on here, is the Evergreen. Now, the Evergreen is on here because it's a mess, okay? Now, do we send these people? I mean, because why have something if we're not gonna enforce it? It just means nothing, okay? Because doesn't mean it's ever gonna be taken to the next level, but we need to let these people know that have, properties that are awful. And he's outlined these as the 3. I think he's got a nice letter here. We should send a letter to these people and say these have been outlined with the Calumet Historic District as being the most egregious. And we have a demolition by neglect, and we also have a dangerous building ordinance. And even send them maybe a copy of the dangerous building ordinances, and and you want to know what your plan is, because if they don't have a plan, they're not going to do anything. If we don't push them, they're not going to do anything. Okay, I know where this is, I know where this is. Which building is this
That's
one?
next to Gallery 11. It's a 2-story sandstone building. It's very small. I think it's between.
Is it this? It would be in the next
400
row.
block. It's on the 400 block, west side of the street.
Okay?
It's a fairly narrow building, and
Did they have a bookstore there one time?
no,
No.
your artist books is still in that. It's still the building. That's not the opera building. I mean, you can tell this building.
Mhm.
It's
Up there, run by there, yeah. See, I haven't looked at it real hard. Now, of course, then we have Polisari Construction, I know which one that is, it's on the corner, it's bad. Yeah, it's bad.
It's got 6 that frame building. Yeah.
I don't know where Herman's Flats
That's
is.
the one where the roof is collapsed.
Oh, across from the funeral home?
No, across from Auto Value.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a block south. Yeah, it's right next to the falls.
It's right next to it, and there's no roof, there's just walls there.
Right.
Okay, that one is very, very bad. But I think we should, in a very nice way do this, because, it makes our village look terrible when we've got problems like this. It becomes,
Well,
because why need to,
and you will find now, with, so Jeff Radcliffe is putting together a MISHDA request for funds to stabilize these two buildings.
which one?
The Aho and Penny's. And
Why
probably,
pennies?
Because it's probably in the worst condition. It's such a prominent building, and to lose it is.
It's terrible, but why can't we maybe, and I'm not against helping people, but I think people that own buildings need to have a little skin in the game, and they need to be responsible.
I agree.
Um,
And again, liens go against all of their properties.
But we haven't done any of these things.
No, but if we get funds from the state to stabilize these buildings, yes, that's what would happen. We would put liens, and so in this case, the owners of this property have quite a few properties, and so.
They have 5, because I have a list.
And so they could never sell any of those properties.
But they could still stay in there and keep all their stuff in there?
That's the great problem with the state law.
So how would that help us if we put money into it and they're just doing the same
All
old
it
thing?
does is stabilize it. I agree, it's a shame you can't, that's something I've said to Scott Diane that the laws don't help us unless we can put a lien on their property taxes. It doesn't, because you're right, you can just sit there and sit on it. I don't know, it's always hoped that the fact that because there's a lien on all your properties, which means you can't sell none of them without first,
They'll just abandon them. That's what they're doing.
that could be, but then they would at least fall into the county's hands, in which case they could be marketed again. So,
Have any of these ever appeared on the, well, I know this particular one, the Penny's building, he sells 2 years behind and pays the 3rd year, okay? Are the other ones like this as well? Are we aware of any of this
Yeah,
stuff?
the Palasari, she did the same thing.
They paid the 3rd year, or do they own that building?
It's a woman in Miami.
I see that right here.
Yeah. And so she paid the 3rd year.
Right, so is that the same thing with the
They're,
building that has
not
to
laws,
go up?
I don't know if they're current or not. I believe, I don't know about that either. I've never heard Kathy Baby talk about that. They may be current.
Yeah, I don't know,
I would have to look.
because some of them really aren't even buildings
I can tell
anymore.
you this one and this one, and I know that because we were actually deciding that. We didn't, well, actually, we were thinking that maybe they might finally be willing to say we don't want these buildings anymore. That they become such a liability to us that, we want to.
But then what do we do with them? They become our
Well,
liability.
no, they would, that's why we don't take them anymore.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
We
we
let
don't
Oakland
have
County, we let Oakland
Yeah,
County
right.
take up, because they have resources we don't have, so.
So what is your feeling on this? I understand trying to get Mr. Grants and this and that, but I think the first step, so people have some skin in the game, is to let them know that we realize that these are the 5 most egregious things, send them letters.
And actually, Evergreen is not as bad as some. This is.
I don't know why you made this list, I'm just going by what the,
Well, and
But they-
and I think it's because they have the highest probability of being able to be redeveloped. Well, this one I don't think, but
No.
the Evergreen, there are people who are interested in that building, so.
but these people own it, okay? And I guess you're right, they have it has a promise of somebody maybe going in there, but in the meantime, we need to let them know as a village that you've been neglected to your properties and it's made our village look bad. And I think we should send them something and see what kind of response we get. Did you notice this building over here where we asked them to take the scaffolding off? Not this building, but the one across the street, did you see the paint job? Apparently historic doesn't have anything to say about paint.
We can't control colors.
Seems like that would be the biggest, because you could have a purple building and, a green, you could have whatever you want. yeah.
And there is no, there is no control on the exterior
It's
things.
snowing out, but I know what you mean. That'd be smart. But I mean, that's just a suggestion, because we can sit here and create as much paperwork as we want on light, on dangerous buildings, whatever, but unless we make an attempt
Right.
to do something.
Yeah, and it hasn't been done, but you're right.
It hasn't been done.
Yeah, well, it's been a couple of years. No, I mean, it hasn't been done in these buildings, but.
Right. I mean, if we, you know, what is our track record of like telling people that they need to not be ready?
They know we don't have the money to do anything.
Right.
I mean, it's, you know.
But still, just a polite thing as well,
I
we
agree.
need to
Put 'em
let
on
them know
record.
that we know,
Put 'em on
put them on record to do something.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, so, all right.
Okay, but that one I think we should discuss too, because we've got to have that attorney in place, which was discussed, what, 3 months ago, 2 months ago? Gotta have-
Yes, I did, well, so I wasn't in July, so.
It wasn't July, it was before that. Yeah, because I got that, got the minutes of it here somewhere.
I will put that on this.
Because otherwise
Yes, I will get you something by Tuesday.
We can just talk about this and that.
No, I agree, but again, we're gonna have to go to court.
Okay.
At some point, we're gonna have to go to court.
Now,
The other thing too is, because I think you just put it away, this is, Jim Church's drafted a revision to our zoning ordinance to make the council, these appeals.
Okay.
So obviously, we won't be covering this on Tuesday already, because you're just seeing this, but we do have,
Right.
I did give you a copy
Right.
of that.
see, the reason I was having a little conversation with him in there, because I'm frustrated, okay? And I looked at my paperwork, I keep all my paperwork about different things, and we were clearly given back 2 months ago when we wanted to get the zoning and the planning going, okay? I was clearly given the law, and the law clearly states that it's 300 feet from somebody that wants a variance.
Or rental property, or for
No,
rental.
it has to be tenants and owners.
Okay, right.
And it's
Right,
not
but
500 feet, it's
Right, it's
300.
like 300.
But we were giving that, so
Yeah.
I'm thinking, I think I have that somewhere, so I'm frustrated that we would use something that was old. It's very frustrating when we were given the proper mission, and it's very difficult to, like, I don't know, it seems like we're spending money for nothing. So is this my copy or is this?
No, I gave you a copy.
This is right here.
Yeah, so,
It's loose here?
yeah, I did staple it.
Okay, so how many pages is this thing?
Fairly, well, a lot of it is, it's kind of old.
So we can't have this with our packet to look at it and vote on it
If you want,
Tuesday?
well, I don't know that we should put it in, I mean, I think people would want to look at it. And again, if we're gonna have a public hearing on the marijuana, we really ought to have something. I mean, not that I think anybody's gonna comment on this,
Right.
but if that's gonna be our process, then I think we can put it in there and say this is something we can consider in September. I mean, there's no, we have to hurry up and do this.
So I don't have, okay, mine says section 22, what does yours say?
Same thing.
Same thing, so this is not an ordinance per se?
It would be an amendment.
Amendment to the ordinance, so it's an amendment to
Yes,
the ordinance,
yes,
okay, so
yes.
we'll do that.
Right, so I can
Okay,
get that.
so what is gonna happen in the meantime, because I did get a copy of the agenda talking about Jim Flood's concern. Are we going to address that in any way, shape, or form?
I don't know,
Because-
I haven't looked at the agenda yet, so.
Okay, because I'm confused at what the agenda thing is.
26, yes,
Yeah.
I'm not sure either, so let me find out, I will find out.
I have no internet connection, so I can't.
Oh, really?
Sometimes I get emails and sometimes I get half emails, I don't know what this is.
Just in this building, or even?
No, like when I get an email, sometimes I can get it off that free thinker, but then if I go to my computer, I might not be able to get it at all. And I can't get it on Chrome, whatever, Chrome is like,
Yeah, that's what I, yeah.
yeah, I can't on my computer, so I don't know, it could be me,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, good, your internet connection.
Right,
The other thing too, we have a vacancy.
I understand that.
Yeah, I mean, do you want to consider filling it or no at this time? I mean, obviously that 7th seat is gonna stay vacant.
Okay, we'll have to we've already discussed it, we've already put it in the paper. My recommendation, and it's only my recommendation, is we put it in the paper, we only had one, well, we had 3 initially, but then now only 1 person. My opinion of this seat is you're the president, you have the right to appoint anybody you want with vital, yeah. I mean, you can just appoint somebody, we have to just vote on it, but I'm the, you know, I'm kind of in the way of, let the people decide.
Right, no, and that's why I'm
Yeah.
not, I'm not interested in doing it. I'm talking about the third person of this committee.
Oh, this committee, or I thought you meant the
Right,
trustee.
no.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
because as long as, if that seat's gonna be vacant, you know, we probably should appoint a third person.
Okay, we've got finance, we've got personnel, and we've got ordinance. Are you just going to appoint somebody at the meeting, or are you going to ask first who wants to be on
Well,
some things?
I mean, I'm asking us.
Yeah, do we need a third person?
Right.
Do you think we need a third person?
Probably would be a good thing, you know. So,
So are you just going to appoint somebody for those three things?
well, I'm gonna ask Sandy, like, I think she, for finance, I think she has suggested Jim Camp.
Right.
I think she
agree.
Yeah, so that would be my recommendation. You know, I would like personnel to come back with their recommendation, because obviously I want somebody.
Do they know this though?
I have not, so.
Because she's personnel as well, you know.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'll let her know.
I don't know, I think maybe Jim Camps is with her in personnel too.
Maybe, I don't know.
Maybe not,
So,
maybe not.
So, and the same thing, I mean.
So you want a recommendation
yeah,
for me
yeah.
that wants to be on there?
What would you like to see? I know Peggy wants to be on there, and I can deal with that.
Well, the way I look at it is if somebody's showing interest to be on there, let them be on there. If it doesn't work out, then when you do the replacements the first of the year, yeah, then we can redo them if it's not working out.
That's kind of my attitude, so,
Okay, yeah.
so, I mean, that's.
That's fine with me.
I will recommend that Peggy be here.
Okay.
So.
Sounds good.
All right, and anything else?
I think we've covered everything. I'm still gonna have a lot of reading to do on this medicine.
Yeah, I agree.
I feel like I need to make a really good decision and I don't feel comfortable on it.
Right, well, there's a lot,
Yeah.
I mean, and it's not an area, again, like I said, I think it's an area where most of us aren't real comfortable. Because it is, I mean, again, I grew up in a generation where you just didn't do that.
Well, we all bring our personal baggage, which we're not
Right,
supposed to,
Right,
okay?
yeah,
You know, and I worked with this stuff and saw lots of stuff. I come from even an older generation than you, so I understand that.
I'm not sure on this.
Here, yeah, she gave 6. How many you have there?
4, did I go with us?
Because you told her 6, right? Is it in there? Is there something in the middle? There's something smaller inside it. Oh, those are just papers. Well,
Okay. I don't know. I can walk over.
because maybe you should have one for, I don't know, the office too, yeah, I'm not real sure.
All right.
I'm not real sure. And I'm gonna go and talk to, Anderson and.
Yeah, see what he's got.
Right, because we do have to, you know, we can't just make it worse, you have to have documentation, you have to do it the right way, okay?
Yeah, those are things I'm not familiar with.
Right.
Yeah,
Because there's a difference between words.
right.
Because I was a little taken back, like, you need to do something as a council, so we don't need to do it.
All right,
All right,
thank you, man.
you're welcome, I don't know.
You know, do you want to start our meeting regular second Wednesday, just like we do our second Thursday of the month?
Yeah, so then we can always modify. Okay, why don't we put that down? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Then we have some bearing on what's going on. And we will decide on another meeting, you know, to address those other issues. All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. I thought this was a good meeting.
Yes, it was very, I like when people are informed and they don't just make their lips move and yell, they actually have facts. I like facts, girl.
I agree.
Oh, there was one more issue, but maybe we've already adjourned. We'll talk about it at the meeting.
All right.
It was the building over there. I had a lot of, you know, when they had the party in the street, I had a lot of backlash. Yeah, just to give you a little, for instance, we have to be better about approving things, because, I'll just give you, I mean, this has nothing to do with it.
No, we're allowed to discuss
Yeah,
this.
we're discussing, I went in for gas over the weekend, and I said, how'd you like the music? And he just said, property, you couldn't get in and out, they made a move. And then he said the most egregious thing was it went till 11:40,
No,
supposed to be
it's supposed to be
10:30. Well, I laid in bed and watched the clock, it
It's
did.
10.
But that's not the most
Yeah.
egregious thing, is then they put out fireworks, and he said, the fireworks were going in my gas tanks. And he said, I was just terrified something would happen. I said, we never approved that. And I said, why didn't you call law enforcement, why didn't you do something? He said, because this guy made real clear to me that he could do anything he wanted, and he said, this was very dangerous. And he had alleys blocked, there was a lot of things. So we need to, now that I think about it, like a city of cigarettes or like a gas station, we need to put more thought into what's gonna happen here. But he was,
No, especially at fireworks. That's
there was
serious.
fireworks,
That's serious.
yeah, right there. And it has to be 50 feet away from smoking, and his
Right, no,
smoking thing was
Yeah,
less
that's
than
not
50
what we were
feet.
aware of. I mean, I'm sure this was a one-time event, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
In future times, yeah.
I never even
And
thought about
anyway,
the smoking thing. He says, you have to be 50 feet away from these tanks, and he says,
yeah,
and he says,
yeah.
this was not 50 feet away. So, I mean, just so we have some bearing next time that we can
Yeah,
do a
I
little
agree.
bit better job on
I
that.
agree. Well, it's rarely a close street.
Well, really,
But
it's
again,
just that
you're
we're
right.
very
Just-
lucky that something,
Right.
because we really made that